Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Sunday, the 8th of August, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. You know what I'm going to discuss in this show? Single most dangerous thing for humanity that there is. And I know the first thing you guys are picturing in your mind is the nuclear arsenal and an all-out thermonuclear war. But no, those weapons are there for a deterrent. And they've been there most of us, the whole time we've been alive. Unless you were born before the 1940s. Unless you're born in the 1930s. They're a deterrent. That's what they are. And even if we did go into some sort of a nuclear war, on some sort of a theater where it would be World War III, it would probably be strategic nuclear weapons and also conventional weapons is probably what they'd use. They probably wouldn't dare to use the deterrent arsenal that they both have, both sides of East and West, because they know what would happen if they did. They know it would be what's called mutual assured destruction. But so I don't really see that as being the biggest threat to humanity. Another big threat out there is viruses. But I'm going to tell you what about viruses. Viruses have to hit a sweet spot. And we just saw a virus that actually hit the sweet spot. You know what I mean by that? Well, if a virus is too potent and it kills too many people, it kills the host. And also, if a virus was extremely potent like that, say it had a very high mortality rate, everything was shut down in front of it. We are intelligent creatures. Something that potentially catastrophic, we would completely shut down in front of it. We saw this happen in Wuhan when this virus broke out. They quite literally dug up the roads leading out of the city with bulldozers so nobody could get in and out, and they basically fenced it off. And this virus was shows us what they would do with a potentially more lethal virus is they'd take even more drastic extreme measures to stop it, and it wouldn't get anywhere. A virus has to hit the sweet spot, and this virus just did, so we see the results. It tends not to, if a virus is weak enough where it hits that sweet spot where it can spread around the world, then it's not a potential threat to completely take out humanity either. So what is there out there that could potentially actually take out humanity? Take out our civilization? There is something out there that's more dangerous than the nuclear arsenals, more dangerous than the viruses. It's the money. I'm going to tell you guys what. Everything in this world, and we have an oil-based economy, and it's going to remain that way into the foreseeable future, even though they're trying to convert over into green energy and everything else. It's not going to change real quick. It's going to change. It will change. Change is coming, electric cars and things like that. But still, the basis of our economy runs on oil. And everything runs on what they call money. And what money is actually debt and credit. And it's actually these currency units that they create that they say have value by government decree. It's called fiat money. That's what it's called. It's fiat currency, to be more specific. And they can print it as will, as much as they want. So what's the biggest danger to mankind? Is something that they can't control within the monetary system. It's not deflation, because deflation, they can easily control it. They just print up a whole bunch more money. We saw that happen. At the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we were heading into a deflationary crisis. The markets were turning down rather rapidly. They just printed up a bunch of money, and what happened? Boom time! So that's not the biggest danger to humanity. But we're getting close to the biggest danger to humanity when we see that the danger would be in what we call money. Because everything in the world runs on what we call money. People don't go to work. They don't go to work. Where's your food going to come from? Your electricity. It's all doled out to you only because you pay the bill. Everything you do in life, the reason why you do it is this means of exchange that we call money, which is actually currency units. We get a sudden problem in what we call money, or these currency units, and it ceases to function worldwide. This could create a disaster of such proportions that it could threaten humanity itself. But what kind of disaster? Because I just said, with deflation, they control that. They can stop that anytime they want, just by dumping money. Ben Bernanke said it best. He said, if we have to, when he was chairman of the Fed, he said, if we have to, we will fly over and dump money from helicopters to stop deflation. So they already know what they're going to do. But what about when inflation starts to run away into something we call hyperinflation? Well, that too wouldn't be a complete destroyer of humanity, because a hyperinflation generally comes on fairly slowly, and there's alternatives. There's resets that they can do. You know, they can do a reset of the currency. But there is an animal out there that's the biggest threat to humanity there is. And it's called a worldwide, sudden hyperinflation. Something that happens too quickly for them to respond to it within the financial system. And I'm afraid to say that we've set ourselves open. This is a new kind of disaster that can occur. And we've made ourselves open to this disaster with computer trading and things like that. The speed in which we can move money around the system has made the system vulnerable to a sudden hyperinflation. A hyperinflation that can occur within a matter of a week or two. That could devalue all of the fiat currencies extremely quickly. And the problem with this is, with the deflation can do the same thing. It can set in a week or two. The stock markets could crash. But they got a fix for that, like I say. And that's what happened at the beginning of the pandemic. They got a fix. But what kind of a fix do they have? If it's the currency itself that's losing value overnight extremely fast, and people are panicking to get out of it, dumping it in fact, what kind of a fix do they have for a sudden hyperinflation? Well, I'm here to tell you guys, if they try to print money for that one, they're just going to add fuel to the fire. And they can't raise interest rates to try to slow it down, because they got such a debt burden now at this point that would cause a default in the opposite direction. So our system is vulnerable to something that could shut down everything. Because if the money becomes worthless overnight, then how does the system operate on that said money, which is actually currency units or fiat currency? How does the entire system run then? With a sudden hyperinflation, there's no time to make any sort of a transition over into an alternative monetary system or any kind of a reset. The world would basically lock up and freeze. And I see this as the biggest potential threat to humanity that there is. Because everything runs on money, or what we call money, which is currency units. And we see the world drifting in this direction toward a sudden loss of confidence in these fiat currencies. And nobody seems to know what to do about any of this. I tend to think that now is the time for the governments, they should start setting up some sort of alternative monetary system that's based on real value. ahead of time, so that we have a redundant system in place. It wouldn't be redundant because it would be used. Use it. Set it up in place so that we have something to hop over to when the hyperinflation finally does get here. This is just my idea. I think it would be a good idea. Uh, possibly set up some sort of a cryptographic currency that's pegged to a hard asset, so it wouldn't go down in value, go up, and the people could make a transference over into this new monetary system at a slow pace before the crisis actually gets to our doorstep. And it's a sort of a sudden thing where all of a sudden our fiat currencies all suddenly, worldwide, all of them, lose value simultaneously in a very quick explosion, or implosion, I should say, of the value of their purchasing power. Something should be done ahead of time, because we see this coming in our future. The central banks are trapped right now. They can't let the system roll over into deflation, at least not very far, because it would consume the system and it would break down everything that they've tried to maintain during this period of time. And at the same time, they can't let it hyperinflate. They're trying to walk a fine line right now while they're trapped. But they're slowly going to drift toward this ever-expanding inflation and devaluing of the fiat currencies. So this is the time for you guys. You got to act, because they're not acting. You've got to act now to protect your wealth, because a wealth transfer is coming during this time when we're going to go into a massive hyperinflation. And, depending on how quick it sets in, depends on how dangerous this situation could become. But I believe that it's not going to be completely sudden. I'm hoping it's not going to be completely sudden. In other words, a sudden hyperinflation. I'm hoping that it's going to be something that's stretched out over a year or two, so that we can make some sort of a transition without the system completely collapsing. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be a sudden sort of a thing. I'm just hoping it won't be, because it's a very dangerous situation indeed. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye.